What is up? Welcome back to the Inside the Diamonds podcast. And I am your host tonight, Chris. Again, we went over this last week. Nobody commented. So I don't know. I don't know what people want. Chris, CJ, what are we feeling? But I'm back again, just me. And we got some stuff to address. Um, Usually I have my phone with me every time I record this. And I did last week. And I didn't get the notification until probably right after I ended. And again, we recorded last week on Tuesday because I had some stuff going on Monday with the Celtics win the championship. I went to go watch the game 5 at my friend's house. Um, so Willie Mays passed away, and because we do this once a week, and I wanted to address it to kick the podcast off. Personally, Willie Mays, as far as I'm concerned, is the greatest baseball player of all time. Now, this is honestly, I mean, there's debates in every sport, basketball, football, you name it. There's debates. I mean, people say in basketball it's Jordan, LeBron. People also go to different names. Okay, football it's Brady, Montana. Hockey, you hear Gretzky. People say Crosby now. Like you hear Gordie Howe, different names. Baseball, it's the most wide open. People go Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds. Um, be with that as you may, if what your opinion is on the steroid situation. Um, I've heard Babe Ruth. Obviously there's so many names, and it's one of those sports where you can say, well, pitching, hitting, best player of all time. At the end of the day, I really think Willie Mays might be the best player of all time. And I heard this stat the other day, and I don't remember the full length of it, but I did my own little one. The only player of in all time history to have 500 home runs plus 100 triples, uh, 2,000 runs scored and 1,900 RBI. All of that together. And he was just, he's not first in every category. And really, whoever is. But, a little story, obviously, I never saw him. He retired in 1973, and I was born in the 90s. So I never saw him. To me, the best player I ever saw, if it wasn't for injuries, Ken Griffey Jr., I'd say Barry Bonds. Pitching wise, Randy Johnson, Pedro. We might be seeing it now with Ohtani. He might end up being the best player ever. But to me, right now, the greatest player of all time is Willie Mays. And I'm going to bring it right in with the game that was played the other day at the field in Alabama. That was fantastic. Everything the MLB put together, the way that was handled, the way that was ran, fantastic. And now I think, from what I've understood, is Willie Mays was supposed to be there. He came out Sunday or Monday and said, I won't be there. I'm in poor health. Little did we know that literally it was that bad. And he passed away 48 hours, 24 hours later. But I thought with, his son coming out to start it and, saying that my dad wished he could be here, it was fantastic. The whole thing was awesome. But I wrote an article the other day, and I talked about the legacy and career of Willie Mays. And ironically, the last weekend, 2 weekends ago, actually, the weekend before he passed away, we didn't have my son. He was staying at his grandparents' house, and so randomly, just that night, I watched old highlights of baseball players, and one of them I watched was Willie Mays. And the more and more I watched, it was just he was such a pure hitter, and so much fun to watch. And as I wrote the article, I went through it, and it really, I wish I got to see him. Like, it sounds like that time period was some great baseball. And as I crunched the numbers, I went through, and the fact that, you go through a 24-time All-Star, that's numbers like Musial did that. I don't think it was ever 24. Williams was also up there in All-Star appearances, but a 12-time Gold Glove Award winner. And the more I watch, especially after his passing, everybody shows the catch. And the catch is great. Love the full facing, the catch. But the fact that he turned around and threw that ball in the way he did and prevented the runner, just fantastic fielder. And as I went through the numbers, his batting average 197th all time. Games played, he was ninth all time. And now let's also remember that he also took a year off for military service. But the home runs, sixth all time. I mean, this guy did it at the plate. He did it with his glove. He did it everywhere. I mean, this WAR, 156.2, third overall. Offensive WAR, he was 136.5, fourth overall. Defensive WAR, 18.2, which is tied for 69th overall. So he was just a fantastic player. If you have a chance, go on YouTube and just watch any Willie Mays highlight. Overall his statistical achievements, two-time MVP, could have been more, but it was also the writers and the time frame that he was in, and the racial issues that were going on then. But 1951 Rookie of the Year, like I said, 24-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glove Award winner, 1954 batting title, two-time All-Star Game MVP. So just one of the best, and he was the godfather of Barry Bonds and taught him. Say what you want about Barry Bonds and the whole steroid issue. I get it. I have this argument. My girlfriend does not agree that Barry Bonds because he cheated. I think Barry Bonds is one of the best hitters of all time, and I grew up watching him. But I go back to, yes, he did steroids, or whatever they say. But before he even joined the Giants, he was one of the best players to watch. He was a Hall of Famer before he left Pittsburgh. He went to San Fran, it got paid, and that's when it seems like things started to change. He became a home run hitter, a power hitter, but he was still a Hall of Famer before that. And, at the end of the day, Willie Mays is his godfather. And so what did he take from him? And Willie Mays, realistically, is the godfather of all of baseball. Everybody I've seen that from a lot of people after his passing, and that he was just the godfather to them in all baseball. So I wanted to just touch on that. I wish I saw it, when it came through, because I would have just ended the podcast with that last week, but I obviously didn't see it, and it was probably halfway through. So rest in peace to one of the best, and the game of baseball will miss you. He seemed to be all around, and I'll have a little bit more to say about him and his presence in the game. So last week we started this, and I'm going to keep it going this week. And we talked about the hottest teams in baseball. And with we're getting to the dog days of summer. It's officially summer now. And so we're going to do the 3 hottest teams and the 3 coldest teams. Now, every week it won't be 3 and 3. It just so happened that this week I worked it out perfectly to have 3 and 3. So the hottest team that I have right now, one of the hottest teams, is the Boston Red Sox. And yes, it is my favorite team, but you can't fault what they're doing. I mean, they've won 8 of their last 10. They went 5-1 last week. The one thing that's always fascinating about them is they struggle on Fridays. Like, I've learned to not bet them on Fridays. They're 3-10 on Fridays. And it seems to be whenever it's a series opener, they just can't win that. So, Friday they faced the Reds, and they were riding a 5-game winning streak, and they lost. It was a 3-2 game, all on home runs, and then Cam Boozer made a tough play and flipped it over Connor Wong's head, and 2 runs scored, and 5-2, and you felt like they weren't coming back. That was just the way the game went. But then they came out Saturday, and they fought back, and then Sunday, it's Sunday. Like, they're 12-1 now on Sunday, and that one loss, if you want to call it, it is what it is. It's a loss. I mean, it stands in the standings that way. But realistically, that was a bad call at first base in that game. The guy, they called him safe. He was clearly out. He missed the base. And the Tigers ended up scoring 4 runs in that game, and the Red Sox going to lose on a Sunday. That's their only loss. So it's really, you could put an asterisk on it. Are they really like 12-1? But as I went through last week, the crunching the numbers on who had good weeks and who didn't, or who did for the hot part of it, it was really the bats. I mean, Jarren Duran threw 6 games last week. And I love the fact that if you haven't heard this story, this is one of my favorite stories of this season. So he has played in every game to this point. And he was called into Alex Cora's office on, I believe it was Saturday. And I'm going to quote this because language. Alex Cora pretty much said, "You're getting the day off today." And Duran said, "Fuck that." I love that. Jarren Duran's probably one of my favorite Red Sox players. David Hamilton's another one that's growing on me, but I love that whole idea of Raphael 8, Hamilton 9, Durant leadoff, and you just roll that in and you get to your power bats. It's fantastic to watch. So with that, Jarren Duran 6 games, he's hitting .393 in those 6 games with a 1.036 OPS, 2 home runs, 5 runs scored, 5 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. Next one's Tyler O'Neill. He played 6 games. He's hitting .333 in those 6 games with a 1.297 OPS, 3 home runs, 4 runs scored, and 3 RBIs. He's hot. And, I'm watching the Red Sox right now with a beautiful play by Duran. He's doing with the glove, too. Robbed a home run on Saturday to keep the game. The next one is Ceddanne Rafaela. I mentioned him before. One of my favorite players to watch for the Red Sox. Just everything he does with the glove. He can play shortstop, center field. He's getting hot with the bat. So last week in 5 games, hit .333 with a 924 OPS, had a home run, 4 runs scored, 2 RBIs, and a stolen base. Guy's just doing it with the glove, with the bat. The last one's Connor Wong. 4 games, he's hitting .294 with a 1,000 OPS, 2 home runs, 3 runs scored, and 4 RBIs. Now he's out. He's on paternity leave, so congratulations to him and his significant other. But they're hot, and they're in a playoff spot now. So, and this week they got 3 against Toronto. They're playing right now. It's 2-1. Rafael Devers hit a 2-run home run to give him the lead. Justin Turner doing his thing as usual, just tormenting the Red Sox because they let him go. And then this weekend, and I'm debating on going on Friday, but Xander Bogaerts will make his return to Fenway, and the Padres are in town, which the Red Sox are dodging a bullet there. Fernando Tatis was placed on the injured list today, so they're not going to face him this weekend. We're going to move right along. The next hottest team in baseball was the Houston Astros. And I said it weeks ago with JC on the podcast, and I said, don't ever count them out. He was talking about selling. We were both talking about selling, and I said, don't count them out. They're coming back. You can't. And they get hit with everything. Like, they just keep losing pitching. They keep losing guys, and they come right back, and they're still in this thing. And that's after a great week last week where they went 5-1. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They took 2 of 3 from the White Sox, and they swept the Baltimore Orioles. So they're coming. And as a Red Sox fan, that makes me nervous because I like catching the Royals and the Twins, but now you got the Astros coming. And if they keep doing what they're doing. Most of the reason why they're doing what they're doing last week was Alex Bregman, 6 games, .462 average, a 1.077 OPS, 5 runs scored, and RBI. So he's not even doing it with the long ball. He's just hitting the ball. The next one is really surprising to me was Chas McCormick. 4 games, hit .333, 1.225 OPS, 2 home runs, 4 runs scored, and 3 RBIs. The final one, this guy is just clutch. He shows up every single time. Yordan Alvarez. He played in 4 games last week at .250 with a 1.055 OPS, 2 home runs, 3 runs scored, and 4 RBIs. But then you turn around and you go to the mound, and now they've lost Christian Javier, Jose Urquidy, and Verlander didn't even show up for this. So the 2 names I want to talk about are Hunter Brown. He faced the White Sox, but he went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits, 1 earned run, didn't allow a walk, and struck out 6. The other one, and this guy has just come out of nowhere this year, is Ronel Blanco. 7 innings pitched, he faced the Orioles. Gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 4 Ks. Like, this guy is just dominant. I mean, not dominant in Luis Gil kind of status, but he's been pretty good. And they got an easy week this week. Easy schedule-wise to start it. They got 2 against the Rockies and then 3 against the Mets. The Mets had been hot. They kind of cooled off a little bit, but they're right there too. And then we'll talk about them later, right towards the end of the podcast. The final team that was hot this week, the Atlanta Braves. And 5-1. And no slouch. They swept the Tigers. That's okay, maybe that one is, but they take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. They did their job. And they're 8-2 in their last 10. This team loses Spencer Strider. They lose Ronald Acuna Jr. They don't miss a beat. They hit the ball. They have great pitching. It's amazing to watch. And it's guys you don't even expect. Like, obviously, the first one I'm going to name, Sean Murphy. 4 games, 400 average, 1.305 OPS, 2 home runs, 3 runs, 4 RBIs. Then you got Austin Riley. 6 games, 350 average, 1.085 OPS, 1 home run, 4 runs scored, and an RBI. Ozzie Albies, 6 games, .280 average, .973 OPS, 2 home runs, 5 runs scored, 6 RBIs. And again, this is the team that won the World Series a couple of years ago, and Ronald Acuna was hurt for the year that year, and they came out and did it. But the name that really stuck out to me was Ramon Laureano. 6 games, a .375 average, a 1.125 OPS, a home run, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. He's been great. But where they're really taking off right now is the pitching. And you lose a guy like Spencer Strider, and you call up a guy in Schwellenbach who, has come into his own. He's made, 4 starts as a big leaguer, and he faced Tigers last week. Went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, one run, and 2 walks and 7 Ks. What can you ask from the guy? Doing his job. Overall, their starting pitchers combined to go 4-1, pitched 33 innings, a 2.45 ERA, a 2.87 FIP, a 1.21 WHIP, and a 9.6 K per 9, a 3.8 walk per 9, and that's behind, Chris Sale. As a Red Sox fan, I said it all along. This guy's going to be healthy. He's going to pitch great. I hate to say it. I hate seeing it. I shouldn't say I hate seeing it. I love seeing it, but I hate the fact that it's not in Boston. But he faced the Yankees. He went 5 innings, gave up 1 hit, 1 run, 3 walks, and 8 Ks. It's a great job. It's a great team. Max Fried made 2 starts. He faced the Tigers and the Yankees, combined to go 11 1/3, gave up 10 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 10 Ks, a 1.59 ERA last week. The final one, and I have a buddy who's a Braves fan, and he had texted me saying, are you ready for this series? And I said, I think the Tigers get swept. I said, the only game that I'm curious about is that 3rd game. And that was Tarek Skubal against Reynaldo Lopez. And Reynaldo Lopez has come from nowhere. Like, the things he's done, wow, what a season for him. And when he faced Skubal, that was the game I wanted to watch. 5 innings, he gave up 7 hits, didn't allow a run, walked 1, and struck out 6. It's a great start. And he faced Skubal, who had probably his worst start of the year. So, and this week the Braves will face, they have an interesting schedule. They'll have the Cardinals for 3, which we'll get to that a little later. The White Sox for 1 will make up on Thursday, and then they got 3 against the Pirates this weekend. So, it's a good week for them if they can stay hot. And they might be featured again next week on this if they continue to do what they're doing. And we'll see what they do. We'll see what the bats do, but the pitching is dominant again. And what are they? Have they trimmed the lead down to 7 now? They're catching up to the Phillies. So, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if they can catch them. It's, a long way to go. But they're right there. I'm not changing my World Series pick to start the year was Orioles, Braves. I mentioned a couple weeks ago I might be changing to Orioles, Phillies. I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm leaning Orioles, Phillies. But we'll see. The cold teams. And this first one, I really was surprised. And maybe it's time. Maybe we knew it was coming. But the Yankees, 3-7 in their last 10. They went 2-4 last week. Went 1 of 3 against Baltimore and 1 of 3 against the Braves. The big stat that I saw was Alex Verdugo. Now, I mentioned he made his return to Fenway 2 weeks ago, and that Friday night went off. Home run, double, he was just driving the ball everywhere, and he seemed to be loving it. But after that, since then, 7 games, he's hitting under 100 with a 241 OPS. Hasn't hit a home run, has scored 1 run, and has 0 RBIs. Oops. It's a tough look. I'm sure he'll figure it out. It's a rough stretch, but we'll see. The next one was Juan Soto. The big one that everybody was talking about is the MVP before Judge got hot. And over the last week, he's played in 6 games, but he's hitting under 200. He's a 565 OPS, has not hit a home run, has 4 runs scored and an RBI. And the other one is Gleyber Torres. 5 games, he's hitting under 200. He's hitting under 150. He's got a 692 OPS, so he's getting up there in the OPS side of things. 1 home run, 3 runs scored, and 4 RBIs. So he's there, but Aaron Judge is carrying that team on his back right now. The other interesting one, we'll go Carlos Rodon. He faced the Braves this weekend, and he had one of his worst outings. He looked good to start the year, has a great record, but is he starting to get back to the Rodon of last year where he didn't look good? He went 3 2/3, gave up 11 hits, 8 runs, 7 earned, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. And we finally saw a Luis Gil start where he struggled. I I like him. I like watching him pitch. When he faced the Red Sox, I was locked in. This guy was fantastic to watch. But you just wondered, is there a point where he's going to regress? And I'm not concerned with him. I mean, it's one bad start. So could be a bad stretch, maybe, but I don't think he's a bad pitcher. I think he'll figure it out. But this is his first year, and this is where he's got to learn to adapt. And guys are starting to adapt to him, so he's got to change his game a little bit. It's all about adapting. Everything about this game is adapting. You face a lineup a second time, adapt. You face a team for a second time, like Tanner Houck's a perfect example. I said it earlier. He struggled in his first start against a team, or was fantastic in his first start, and then struggled the second start. It's all about adapting. And so Luis Gil, his first bad start came against the Orioles, 1 1/3, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. That's not Luis Gil numbers that we've seen this year, and that has made him a Cy Young candidate, let alone a Rookie of the Year candidate. So they have a chance to turn things around this week. They got the Mets for 2, quick Subway series, which I didn't even put that in my series to watch. I love a good Subway series, so I'll be watching that tomorrow. And then they got 4 against the Blue Jays this weekend, who are right into it. The next team I want to talk about, they had a bad week. You thought the Yankees' week was bad? This team didn't get a win. Swept by the Red Sox, swept by the Guardians. Now they faced some 2 hot teams, 2 good teams, but 2-8 in their last 10, and they were outscored 37-18 last week. The tough news for them, my second overall prospect for the Blue Jays system, Elvis Martinez, had gotten called up, made his big league debut. Well, he's suspended for 80 games for performance-enhancing drugs. Tough start for his career, but going to move right along. Dalton Varsho, he had a bad week. 5 games, a 0.53, under 100 batting average, a 196 OPS, has not hit a home run, a run, or an RBI. Now, this is a guy that led the team, or leads the team in home runs, and is tied for the team lead in RBIs. If you're going to win games, you need your guys to show up and perform. The next one is George Springer. And I've heard this everywhere, and I agree with it. And I've heard it. Watching it, I see it. George Springer's taking a step back. He looks older. He looks like he's getting to that point. 6 games, he's hitting under a $150 with a 420 OPS, and doesn't have a home run, a run, or an RBI last week. This team right now, even though they went 0-6 last week, is really being led by Vlad Guerrero Jr., Justin Turner, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, which who would have thought that Kiner-Falefa would be a name you mentioned with those other 2, with the bats they have. And in the last 6 games, they've combined to hit 339 with 5 home runs, 11 runs scored, and 8 RBIs. There's your offense for this team. And then Spencer Horwitz, who they just called up recently, but that's your offense right now for this team. You got to find somebody. You need Bichette, but he's hurt. You got to find something. You need somebody else to pick it up. The starting pitching, not good. 0-5, 24 innings pitched, a 9 ERA, a 7.52 FIP, a 1.92 WHIP, a 9.0 K per 9, and a 3.8 K walk per 9. And right now, you're watching Chris Bassett, Tanner Houck face off. This is Monday night. I'm recording, so you'll probably hear this Tuesday. But Chris Bassett, he's through 5, and he's not pitched bad. He has not pitched bad. Another team I'm going to talk about now. You can mention every team in the bottom of the standings. Like, they have had bad weeks too. But I really wanted to focus on the teams that were talked about as a playoff team. Like I talked about, the Yankees. I thought they were going to finish second or third. Blue Jays were actually second. I had the Blue Jays third. And another team that I talked about and they had a playoff spot was the Kansas City Royals. And the week they had has allowed the Red Sox to move into a playoff spot. The Royals went 1-5 last week. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They took 1 of 3. They had 1 of 3 against the A's. Then they got swept by Texas. They lost their playoff spot. They're now a half game out. I mean, I like the Royals. I think they're going to get there. I mean, they're going to have to really compete with the Red Sox, the Twins, and the Astros. I mean, I didn't think the Guardians were going to be as good as they are, but I really thought the Royals could be a playoff team. Now I see the Red Sox playing the way they are. If they keep this up and they get better with the deadline and people getting healthy, like Tristan Casas comes back, they could be a problem. So the Royals have a tough stretch, and they haven't faced the Red Sox yet either. So they got that coming up. I think it's the series before the All-Star break. But last week, and this is what I mean, is you need your stars to perform. Bobby Witt Jr., who arguably between him and Gunnar Henderson are two of the best shortstops in the American League right now, and they're showing it all-star voting wise. Witt had 6 games. He hit 125 with a 417 OPS, a home run, a run scored, and 2 RBIs. Salvador Perez, who was their best hitter to start the year, in 6 games he's hitting a .136, 272 OPS, doesn't have a home run, he scored 1 run, and doesn't have an RBI. And then the starting pitching, which was one of the best at the time. I mean, Seth Lugo was great to watch. Walker was doing his thing, but he got hurt. They went 1-5 last week with 49 innings pitched, a 5.51 ERA, a 4.55 FIP, a 1.59 WHIP, a 7.7 K per 9, and a 4.4 walk per 9. And Alec Marsh was a big part of that. He had 2 games started, 8 2/3 between those 2 games. That's not ideal. Gave up 10 earned runs on 15 hits, 4 walks, 8 Ks for a 10.38 ERA. Yikes. You need better than that. So the next one, so we're going to continue with, they have their next coming up games. They have 3 with the Marlins. That could get things turned around. And I could get them back in the conversation if the Red Sox blow a game this week. And they got 4 against the Guardians, so they really got to make a statement that week and that this weekend. So those are the 3 hot teams, the 3 cold teams. We'll do that again next week. We'll go over who had a good week, who had a bad week. But the storylines from the last week, starting with Max Scherzer, has made his return. Since we're going to talk about, what happened with the Rangers this past weekend, he faced the Royals. So he faced the Royals. They're struggling, and that's, I guess, a good statement to come back to. You got to win. Going 5 innings, he only allowed 1 hit. He didn't allow a run. Didn't walk anybody. Struck out 4, and he got, out of his 12 outs, 4 were on the ground and 8 were in the air. So he gave up some fly balls, which, you're used to bigger strikeout numbers for Scherzer, but first game back, it was good to see that he looked good. And if he's back and they're healthy, that team could start making a run with the Astros, and they could be in the conversation with the Royals, Twins, and Red Sox. They just need everybody healthy. They have the pitching. Eovaldi, Scherzer, DeGrom. I mean, that if you hear that in the playoffs, I don't want to deal with that. So they could be right back there. Another one that happened last night on Sunday Night Baseball, and I had actually on the little TV because I was watching something else on the bigger TV, and I looked over and I saw the commotion. Edwin Diaz got ejected. They said he had a foreign substance on his hand, and so he was ejected before he even threw a single warm-up pitch, and automatically 10-game suspension. My question to this is, normally I thought they were allowed to go wash their hands. Now, he said the foreign substance, I saw it when I was watching it. I saw it on the little TV, but I got up and went up closer to it just to see what was going on. His hands looked dark. Like, there was definitely like a substance on there. You could see it. But he said it was rosin and sweat. Same thing he's done all year. And I heard somebody say that out of like the 5 ejections they've had for pitching, 3 of them are on the Mets. So, but Edwin Diaz has no history of cheating. He didn't throw a pitch. He should be able to wash his hand, come back out, and be fine. And then they check him again at the end of the game, and then there's consequences after that. Whether, I don't know what the ruling is on that, but suspension automatically. But the fact that he was just ejected was interesting to me. So the Mets obviously didn't matter. The Mets went on to win. Now they don't have their closer, though, for 10 games. I don't like that, but the next thing, we're going to keep moving right along, keep flowing, is we're going to talk about all the opportunities we have with us. I'm by myself. If you get sick and tired of hearing my voice, all you got to do is email me or reach out to me, reach out to anybody here. We got spots. People want to talk baseball. I'm open to it. We also got plenty of writing opportunities. There's, 26 teams open right now. So there's plenty of writing opportunities if you want to do it. And I'm happy to help. I'll get you ideas. Like, I find things all the time where I go, oh, that would be a good one. That'd be a good one. I mean, there's so many things that you can write about. As a Red Sox fan, I watch this team, and there's nights where I get frustrated, and so I write about it. Earlier in the season, I'm sure I talked about it on here, but there was a article where I got frustrated with, the teams play, and I said, why do I do this to myself? And again, that's an article you could write for your team, but it literally translates to every team as a fan. I write, there's so many different things you could write about. So if you're looking for an outlet, really, you can write whatever, and I'm happy to help. So reach out to us. The link's right here, insidethediamonds.com. Join us, or you can email me, clavalley@insidethediamonds.com, and I'm happy to help. So we're going to continue right along here. I got two more things before we get into the prospects and the matchups for the week. The next one is the Orioles-Yankees. They played last week. Is there a rivalry going? We saw it on, I think it was Tuesday night, where Aaron Judge got drilled on the hand and didn't play. And, I saw Yankees fans were calling for, retaliation. And I don't know if this was retaliation, but I saw the next day Gunnar Henderson got hit. And again, like I said, I don't know if it was retaliation. I don't know what it was, but it's something that's coming. And the Yankees love to get something going with a team that they're either trailing in the division or are second behind them in the division, where it's like one of those, we're the alphas. And I love it. It's great for baseball. And like I said a couple weeks ago, I wished, when Verdugo threw his antics on Friday, that the Red Sox retaliated and did their thing, stuck up for their team. But I think they're all too many friends with Verdugo that it didn't happen. At the end of the day, the rivalry side of things, like, I obviously don't want anybody to get hurt, none of that, but I like the idea of the intensity and the rivalry in the game. So the next time these two teams face, which will be interesting to see, is the weekend before the All-Star break, July 12th and the 14th. This season, the Orioles are 5-2 against them, so they loaned the 7 games so far, and the Orioles have outscored them 39-21. So that's something to watch. That's for sure. The final thing I'm going to talk about before we get to the other stuff is the National League is absolute chaos. Right now, the Cardinals and the Padres hold the playoff spot. Behind them is everybody jumbled up. You got the Nationals a half game back. You got the Diamondbacks and Mets 1 game back. You got the Pirates a game and a half. You got the Cubs 2 games back. You got the Reds 2.5. You got the Giants 3 games back. And honestly, I said a couple weeks ago, I think the Padres and the Cardinals are the 2 teams to get in. They just have all that talent. They have, veterans that could get in. And obviously the Diamondbacks right there, they made a run last year. The Mets have gone on a run. Maybe it's too early for them to even think about it, but the Cubs, their offense is lacked, so they're still there. The Giants could also get there, but they're missing people. It's wide open. But at the end of the day, the idea of the Pittsburgh Pirates making that final spot, that could feed families. The idea of you going to a playoff series and a 3-game series in the wild card round, and essentially the ALDS is a best of 5. So you can go into a playoff. Typically, playoff rotations are 3 guys at that point until the ALCS, and you get a 4th one in there. But if the Pirates get in, and you have a rotation of Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller, that is must-watch TV. That series is going to be on most baseball fans' households. You're going to have 2 guys that throw over 100, and then you're going to have Mitch Keller, who they just extended, got the ball on opening day, and he throws hard too. I don't care who they face. They could be the 6th seed, and they get the Brewers or the Cardinals. And that's the series for the first round. They could move on, and now we're talking they got the Phillies, which they'll probably get waxed and lose, but could you imagine that? And you're facing, you got Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, and the 4th one you could have a toss-up on. But they're facing Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner's healthy, JT Realmuto. That's must-watch TV too. So, and the reason why I put the question in there about the Cardinals is I wonder, are the Brewers going to blow their division lead? The Cardinals are only 5 back. So is there a chance something's going on in Milwaukee and they're starting to fade, and one of these teams, they're all jumbled. Like I literally said, the Cardinals hold a playoff spot, and then you got, the Pirates are a game and a half back. The Cubs are a half game behind them. The Reds are 2 games behind a game behind the Pirates. They're all right there. So could something happen? One of these teams sneaks in, the other one gets a wild card, and then we got chaos, and the Brewers may not get in. I had them not making it in to start the year, but all these teams are right there. So it could be interesting to watch down the stretch. Another team that I I said I was going to mention it with the Willie Mays story. The Giants could be a team to watch to get in, and that's because I've been big. I've been big on the storylines. Like 2013 happened with the Red Sox, and they won the World Series after that. And a player dies from a team, and they get hot, and they go in the playoffs, and that they make a run. And we saw that nothing like that happen with the Diamondbacks, but they got hot at the end. They made the playoffs, and they went on a run, made the World Series. Because something to be with this was the Willie Mays story, and this team just gets because you can. After it all happened, they were emotional. They had a hard time getting through. They obviously played that game in Alabama. They were emotional on the field. Could that be something that lifts this team to get hot and they make the playoffs? And they're all wearing 24 patches on their jerseys. So could they get hot and make the playoffs and they become the sixth seed that can make a run? It's just that's something to watch because, like I said, that is wide open. And that might be something we talk about every week is where are they now? Where were they last week? Where are they now? Like what's going on? What's changing? Because it seems like it's going to be a daily thing. Washington could sneak in tomorrow. We could wake up on tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, and Washington's now in a playoff spot. The Padres just lost Tatis. That's a bad out of their lineup when the lineup's struggling. The Mets could be in tomorrow. The Diamondbacks could be in tomorrow. You could be the weekend, and the Pirates are now in. It's gonna be that's a wild race to watch, and one I'm probably gonna watch a lot of. The final thing I forgot to put this on my list was a tough loss for the Angels, who seemingly are falling out of it, and this will probably open up more to being sellers of the deadline, which is only 6 weeks away. They lost Patrick Sandoval, and I watched the video of it the other day, and I wish I didn't, so please don't look at it, but he threw a pitch and immediately went to the pitching staff. They came out, and he pulled himself. He had gone 2 1/3 innings, and Tommy John came out today, right before I hopped on the record. So his season's over. This season, he's made 16 starts. He's 2-8, a 5.08 ERA, a 1.51 WHIP, a 4.0 walk per nine, and 9.2 K per nine. And when I see stuff like the ERA being high and the WHIP and all that, like the WHIP's not even bad. It makes me wonder, like, obviously the ERA goes up every start, like you make if you give up runs and stuff. But I see stuff like this. Is it something that's built up? So, like, was this something that happened 3 starts ago, doesn't really feel it, and then all of a sudden he throws one pitch against the Dodgers on Friday, and here it is. And I hate seeing it. I mean, it's like I said, everybody knows if you listen to this that I love pitching. I'm locked in on pitching, and we're going to get to prospects. I have 2 pitching prospects for the week. Everything pitching, like pitching matchups. I love certain pitchers when they go. Like I grew up, my favorite player was Pedro Martinez. I loved watching Randy Johnson, the Braves' big three. I'm big on the A's' big three back in the early 2000s of Mulder, Zito, and Hudson. Just I grew up that way, and so I hate seeing good arms go down like this. So it's a tough story for the Angels. They're most likely out of it. They got a series with the A's this weekend, so it's a tough story for them. Although I do like watching Tyler Anderson, so if you get a chance to see him pitch, he is fun to watch right now. And Jack, who covers the Angels for us, wrote a good article about him and his progress this season. So something if you want to check it out. So now we'll move right along to the prospects. My hitting prospect for the week is my 14th overall prospect. He's playing AAA in the Minnesota Twins organization at the St. Paul Saints, and that is Brooks Lee. Lee last week in 5 games went 10 for 22 for a .455 batting average. He had 22 total bases, 3 doubles, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 2 walks, and a stolen base. This season, he's hitting .367 with a .982 OPS, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 20 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases. This kid has a chance. I mean, they're kind of blocked at shortstop with Royce Lewis and Carlos Correa, so I don't know what they're going to do, but this kid's just knocking on the door to get called up. So that'll be interesting to watch as the year progresses. An injury happens, he gets a chance, see what he does. We'll have to see. The next one, as if this team needed more pitching prospects to watch, but the Pittsburgh Pirates, Bubba Chandler. He's the 64th ranked prospect pitching at AA for the Altoona Curve. Last week, in his start, he got the win, went 7 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. Didn't allow a run. It's a dominant performance, and I've been high on him. I went to the Cubs-Red Sox game, and the family sitting in front of me was talking about, the division and all this stuff, and I said, the Pirates are coming. And you think Skeens and Jerry Jones are it? They got more, and they're coming. And they could honestly, they could move one of these arms, not Skeens or Jones, but they could move one of the prospect arms, two of them, and get a couple bats. And they could be a big problem. So we'll see. But this kid, 13 games this season, 11 of them are started. He's 3-5 with a 4.37 ERA, a 1.23 WHIP, 57 strikeouts, and 47 and third innings. Not a bad arm. The final one is Jacob Misiorowski. He's a 23rd ranked prospect for the Brewers, 23rd overall ranked prospect in the Brewers system. In his start, he got the win, going 6 innings. He gave up 1 hit, didn't allow a run, hit a batter, did not walk anyone, and struck out 5. This season, he's got 13 starts. He's 1-2 with 3.44 ERA, a 1.34 WHIP, 65 strikeouts, and 52 and a third innings pitched. It's an arm to watch for Milwaukee, a team that traded Corbin Burns away, and that was my big question mark for the year is their pitching. So this is a guy that could move up to AAA very soon. Another arm to watch. So finally, we're going to go right to the matchups for the week. I got 2 for the weekday, 1 for the weekend. The one series for the weekday that I want to talk about first was the Cardinals-Braves. And that's because the Braves are hot and the Cardinals are right there for a playoff spot. This could be, essentially, like I said, the Cardinals could win the division, essentially, and they could get that 3 seed. They win the first round. That's Braves-Cardinals the Braves are probably going to be the 4 seed. So you could even see the Cardinals be the 5 seed like they are now, and this is your wild card matchup. Could very well happen. So this is a good series for the Cardinals where they can make a statement, and the Braves just if they can stay hot. So that's one to watch. The next 2 feature the same team. Well, the Baltimore Orioles and the Cleveland Guardians, 2 teams that are going to be playoff teams, or should be. Baltimore definitely should be. Cleveland, who knows what's going to happen with that division. But that's a potential playoff series to watch. And this weekend, the Rangers and the Orioles. And that's Sunday Night Baseball as well. It's good to see Baltimore getting some primetime love. It's going to be something to watch this week. So, right now I'm watching, I got the Red Sox on the big TV with the Blue Jays, and the little TV, I actually went with the College World Series. I like Tennessee, but Tennessee was a team to beat. We're going to have a lot of draft coverage coming up over the next couple weeks. There's a couple draft player profiles out there. I know Jack Tagliano is one. I believe I have one for Chase Burns and one for Hagen Smith. I'm big on Trey Savage. He's one I want for the Red Sox. There's some good prospects to watch if you haven't watched this College World Series. Obviously, it's ending now, so I wish I talked about this earlier. But if you want to go back and watch a game, this was fantastic. This whole tournament's been awesome to watch. So that's about it for me. Been a good week of baseball. Love the storylines that are happening. Love watching what's going on. The door's wide open for so many teams. So there's a lot of storylines coming out. And like I said, a lot of good stuff going on. If you want to write about it, we got a place for you. Have a good week, everybody. Enjoy.